Hello and welcome to the 5th day of the 12 Cookies of Christmas. I'm your host, Lucille Orr-D'oeuvre, and today we have my most absolutely favorite cookie of all time, the Cowboy Cookie. Now, I'm still really not so sure as to where the name came from. It's from a recipe I found in a magazine back in the 1980s. Some people believe the name stems from its easy-to-find ingredients and its easy-to-make ability that even a cowboy on the range could have enjoyed these. Now, I'm really not sure how a cowboy could have had access to an oven, and I really don't see how you could make these on an open flame. But the name doesn't matter. It's the taste that will clinch you, and you will be transformed into a devotee of the Cowboy Cookie. A very easy cookie to make. It will probably take you about 40 minutes to put it all together, and then it needs to chill for a while. I usually let it chill overnight and then bake them the next day so I don't have to sit around and wait too long. But they are very simple and can be made with mostly ingredients you would find laying around your kitchen. To get started, you will need 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 cups of oatmeal. I've never made it using steel-cut oats. There would probably need to be some soaking involved of the steel-cut oats. But if you're really devoted to your steel cut, you can give it a try. I'm just not guaranteeing it'll turn out the same way. I use instant oats, the same kind I make my breakfast with. You'll also need a pinch of salt, half a teaspoon of baking powder, and a full teaspoon of baking soda. You'll also need half a cup of granular sugar and half a cup of brown sugar. With that, you'll need 1 cup of butter or 2 sticks, 2 large eggs, half a tablespoon of vanilla or vanilla extract. I always use a most delightful, beautiful vanilla that comes from Tahiti. I do have to special order it, but the Tahitian vanilla adds a very beautiful floral note. A Madagascar vanilla will do just fine. Mexican vanilla is always fun, but if you must resort to artificial extract, that will do as well. It's just not as good. The piece de resistance of the Cowboy Cookie, which you must not skimp on, and the only way you'd skimp on it is if you dip into it before the dough is made. 2 cups of chocolate chips. The fun part here is there are many different types of chocolate chip you can choose from. I prefer to use classic old milk chocolate chips, but you can use dark or semi-sweet. They also make butterscotch chips, or raspberry chocolate chips, or white chocolate chips for those who get headaches from the caffeine in the cocoa. I've tried all of these different flavored chips over many years, and they are all delightful and scrumptious. My preference still rests on the milk chocolate. getting started. You'll mix your flour, oats, salt, and the baking powder and the baking soda all together in a medium bowl. Use a wire whisk just to incorporate it thoroughly. Next, in a large bowl, you'll cream together the butter and the 2 different kinds of sugar until they are smooth and creamy. Then add the eggs into the butter mixture one at a time. Mix thoroughly, and then add in the vanilla. Once that's been all mixed together well, you will slowly mix in the dry flour mixture into the large bowl with the butter mixture and incorporate it. Now, for your beginner cook, here is a lesson you must learn in baking. Always add the flour mixture in little by little. You see, if you throw it all in at once and you try to stir it in, it will just go kapoof. You will end up with flour flying everywhere. It will look a bit like a cartoon, and then your recipe won't have as much of the dry ingredients as it needs, and your cookies will be a little off. I used to teach kindergarten, and the children used to delight in the fact that they could make a giant flour explosion whenever we baked together. So if you're baking with your little ones, or the ones who are little at heart, be sure just a little bit of flour at a time to gradually mix it all in. Once it's all mixed in together, you add in your chocolate chips to finalize your dough. Then you roll it into a log form. It ends up being quite heavy, a bit like a Yule log. Then you'll wrap it in some kitchen wrap, and you'll need to refrigerate it for quite some time, minimum of 2 to 3 hours. That means if you want to eat these by the end of the day, be sure you start making the dough just around lunchtime, so you won't have to rush anything. After the log has been sufficiently chilled, preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and line a baking sheet with parchment. I'm beginning to have déjà vu of past episodes whenever I say that line. Then use a teaspoon to form the size of the cookies, and then roll them in your palms and drop them onto the baking sheet at least 1.5 inches apart from one another. Put them in the oven for 7 to 9 minutes and remove them just before they begin to brown on the bottom edge. You see, they will continue to cook after you've removed them from the oven. If you let them cook too much in the oven, they will dry out, and they will be more like little hard biscuits, and they just are not as enjoyable that way. Though they are still tasty and delicious, the texture is way off. So pull them out just before they're done, and then they will continue to bake as you let them cool on a wire rack for a few minutes. Although, admittedly, it is very difficult not to eat them straight off the baking sheet, because they are so delightful. The whole family will come running to the kitchen as soon as they smell them cooking, and they will be like flies. You will have to bat them away, or else the cookies will be gone in no time. Because of this, I do recommend doubling this recipe, making a double batch, and leaving one of the logs of dough in the fridge. It can last in there up to about 3 weeks. If you wish to have it for longer, put it in the freezer for about 6 weeks. But then you can just pull the log out when it comes closer to Christmas. After all, the cowboy cookies have already been long devoured, and you can start baking a new batch without having to start from the beginning all over again. These cookies will surely delight everyone you have at your home for the holidays. They are an excellent cookie. They are quite the sustenance with the oatmeal in them. As my parents would have said back in the day, they are stick to your ribs. Anyway, enjoy your oddly named cowboy cookies and keep making them for generations to come. So simple, so delectable, and in my home, no Christmas is complete without them. Thank you for joining me for the 5th of the 12 cookies of Christmas. I'm your host, Lucille Orr-D'oeuvre. See you next time. Bye-bye.